So this is bread in a bottle. We're gonna show you how to make the easiest bread, I think, that there is to make. I actually even brought the parchment paper for later. We don't need that right now, so we're gonna put that over to the side. So really simple recipe. This is the yeast. This is the recipe that I found calls for 2 teaspoons. This is about 2.5 teaspoons of yeast. That's active dry yeast. You get the little packets, but we got a big old package from Costco, which if you're doing bread a lot is a good idea. This, I don't know if that'll go out of focus, but this is 3 cups of bread flour, and then I put about 2.5 teaspoons of salt on top because I didn't want to waste another bag. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in here. And so then I've got 1.5 cups of hot water. And we're gonna take your active dry yeast, and you're gonna put the active dry yeast in the cup. And I don't have anything to stir it, so I'll use the back of this. I'll just stir that up real quick. All right, so your yeast is now doing its thing. It's activating because you gotta have hot water to do that. You can't use cold water, it's gotta be hot water. Then, we already got that side dirty, doesn't matter. Just gonna pour it in, and we're gonna mix this up. All right, and it's already turning into a dough. And the goal is to get something that's not like Play-Doh, not like dough that you're gonna roll out. It's gotta be kind of gooey, so I might need to add a little tiny bit more water to this. We'll see. Yep, I'm just gonna add a little bit more water because this is more dry than I want it. So, a little tiny bit. A little goes a long way. So your consistency is going to be really like, not muddy, but like, I don't know, Kelsey, what would you call the consistency that's, I'm asking somebody with culinary experience and baking experience. What do you call that kind of consistency?
Paste.
Pasty, there we go, that's good. Kind of a pasty, sticky consistency. That's about what you want right there. And you're gonna let this sit with the lid on it, but not closed, but just kind of loose over it for about 3 hours. And then we're gonna put it in the fridge. And then we'll go do part 2, which is baking the bread. All right, so part 2 of bread. So this is the bread before it's cooked. You can see little bubbles in there. So that's after it's sat. I sat it on the counter for about 3 hours last night, and then I put it in the fridge with the cover, the lid, kind of just hanging out over the top. So I had some room to breathe. We've got a Dutch oven here, but you could use a stainless steel container. Basically, the purpose of this is you need it to steam. So you need a cover that you can put into the oven at 450 degrees. So we're gonna put this in the oven, which is preheating, and we're going to, hopefully it'll fit here. All right, we'll do that out in a second after I get the bread ready. But we're gonna preheat that in the oven at 450. So what we're gonna do with the bread, we're gonna sprinkle a little flour right here. Just something so it doesn't stick. And I usually, well, you can just use something you can get in here to get the dough off the wall. It's gonna be real sticky, so you don't want to touch it with your fingers because it'll stick to your fingers. Basically, we're gonna take this and we are going to eventually get it onto the floured surface. And it should all come out in one piece. You might have a little residue in the bowl. All right, so there it is. There's your dough ball. All we're gonna do is we're gonna take it about, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. Just try and get all those bubbles out and make it into kind of the shape of a ball. You should be pulling up some of that flour with it. And nothing has to be perfect. This is a rustic very rustic loaf. All right, and probably overdoing it, but that's fine. Doesn't really matter. So now I'm gonna flour, a little more flour. You can even see it expanding right now, so it's doing pretty good. All right, we're gonna take that and we're just gonna flip it. I shouldn't have gotten on my fingers like that, but I did. And we're just gonna kind of get it. Then we're good. So we're gonna leave it here until that is preheated, and we'll put it in the oven for 30 minutes. Take the lid off, another 12 minutes, and you'll have golden brown done rustic bread, and we'll show you the finished product. Okay. All right, so we're preheated, so we're gonna do this. So I'm gonna take it out very carefully. It's hot. And you're gonna take the lid off. Don't touch this with your hand. Take the lid off like this. Woo, that's warm. All right. So basically all you do is you take your parchment paper bread and your bread and you dump it in here and you kind of fold the paper in so it's not creating any gaps in the lid. Put your lid back on. Make sure it's nice and sealed. Put it in the oven. Set your alarm for 30 minutes, and when those 30 minutes are up, we're going to take the lid off, and that's it. And you'll have you leave the lid off for 12 minutes, and we'll show you the finished product. All right. So 30 minutes. Time is up on the bread, so we're going to take it out. Take the lid off, and there's our almost finished bread right there. So we're going to put it back in for 12 more minutes. Right now, without the lid on, and then we're going to have the finished product. So I'm going to start the timer set for 12 minutes. So I think the bread looks pretty good to me. It's really hot.
That looks good.
I'm going to leave it in for another minute. Okay. All right. Bread's been in there for 12 minutes with the lid off, and this is the finished product. So we're going to take it out. I could probably leave it in for another minute, but that looks good enough for me. That's the finished product. So we started with bread in a jar, and this is what we came out with. So pretty easy, huh? Very important. You don't want to leave it in there because it'll get a little soggy. So you want to actually set it out and let it cool. That's the final product. We can cut in there and eat it right away, but we're gonna eat it with turkey dinner tonight. So happy Thanksgiving. There's some rustic bread.